Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to a new cycle on Global Television coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agumofwegbe. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nightcomsat. The House of Representatives has urged the federal government to provide scientific, verifiable data on the housing deficit and improve access to affordable housing in the country. This decision was taken at plenary after adopting a motion on provision of affordable housing in Nigeria, sponsored by the member representing Ikono Ini Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State, Emmanuel Okpongwam Udo. The lawmaker noted that data is considered an important factor in the planning and execution of projects across all tiers of government. He said the housing sector in Nigeria, with a huge deficit, lacks veritable data for planning and execution of housing policies and strategies within the country. The National Assembly has refuted social media claims that President Bola Tinubu will present the 2025 budget at a joint session on Wednesday. In a statement issued, the Secretary of Research and Information at the National Assembly, Dr. Ali Umaru, described the report as false. He urged the public to disregard the information, emphasizing that the legislative body has yet to approve the 2024-2026 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, which must concede and precede the national budget presentation. Umaru advised that all official communications regarding the National Assembly should come through its authorized channels, warning against spreading unverified and misleading information. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has suspended his senior special assistant on print media, Wale Ajetumobi. This was disclosed in a statement issued by the governor's special advisor on media and publicity, Gboyega Akosile. Akosile says Ajetumobi's suspension comes on the heels of the misrepresentation of facts on his personal X accounts on a past incident. Ebonyi State Governor Francis Winfuru has suspended the State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Moses Ekuma, and his Housing and Urban Development counterpart, Francis Ori. A statement issued by the Commissioner for Information and State Orientation, Jude Okpo, says following cases of gross misconduct and dereliction of duties by some government officials and matters related, the governor directed the indefinite suspension of the two appointees. The immediate past governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, has berated his successor, Monday Okpebholo, for shutting down the state's e-governance platform. It was reported that Okpebholo had said that the entire e-governance platform is being run and operated from the back end by unknown non-state actors, and no one within the whole public service of the state has administrative control of the platform. In a statement through the Secretary to the State Government, Umar Ikilo, the governor ordered an immediate review of the platform. Governor Okpebholo said all officials and staff of ministries, departments, and agencies are to continue to work on the platform pending the outcome of the ongoing review. And now let's turn to other stories for you. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, has given the Mineral Resources and Environmental Management Committee, also known as MIREMCO, a 90-day ultimatum to improve its performance or face severe sanctions from the federal government. The minister issued the ultimatum at the annual general meeting of the committee. Queen Agaba tells us more.
Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, expressed his dissatisfaction with the agency's current performance, emphasizing that it is Mineral Resources and Environmental Management Committee core responsibility to interface between subnationals, local opportunities, operators, and the federal government to minimize cases of conflict.
Section 19, subsection 3G has not been effected by you. And I'm giving you a moratorium of 90 days, within which I will have no more excuses to give to the president. We'll just start the process of reviewing the act and removing this body entirely from the system.
Quoting from the Nigeria Minerals and Mining Act 2007, Section 19, subsection 3G, which makes it mandatory for Miremco to act as a liaison between the subnational authorities, the local government, the communities, and the operators. Alake stressed that the provisions of the Act has not been effectively executed by the committee. According to the minister, if the provisions of the Act had been effected by Miremco, the spate of interference witnessed by the subnationals in the instance of local governments shutting down mines, making policy pronouncements that are outrightly unconstitutional would have been minimal.
Are supposed to be the first point of contact between the operators and all authorities, local, state, or federal. You are supposed to be the first point of contact if there are any issues. If the states had issues, you are supposed to be the first point of contact because you chairmen are nominated by the state authorities. So it's as if you have gone to sleep.
The minister also charged the chairman to rally their members and improve on their performance, failure of which the federal government will be left with no other option than to act appropriately to restore effective management of the nation's mineral resources and its attendant environmental concerns. Alake assures of periodic engagement with the communities while promising to push for improved funding for the agency in the 2025 fiscal year to bolster its capacity to effectively fulfill its mandate. For Global Television, Queen Agaba reporting.
Thank you, Queen Agaba. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, is set to unveil the School Protection Squad in Ogun State. A statement released by Ogun State Police Command spokesperson Omolola Odutola says the initiative will be inaugurated a two-day event themed capacity building for security agencies and other stakeholders. The initiative is aimed at enhancing and promoting the safety and security of schools across the state. Let's take you to Nigeria Southeast now, where Alex Oti of Abia State has urged the Nigerian Army to end the alleged harassment and humiliation of travelers at military checkpoints across the state. There were reports that travelers are often forced to disembark from their vehicles and across checkpoints on foot, sometimes with their hands raised, while trucks conveying traders are allowed to pass freely with passengers on board. Addressing the issue after the State Executive Council meeting held at the Governor's Ombosi country home, the security advisor to the Governor, McDonald Uba, revealed that Governor Oti has warned security agents against such practices. A former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, is currently in custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, over alleged misappropriation of funds. There are reports that the anti-graft agency arrested him, while unconfirmed reports also say he drove to the commission's office with his lawyers. At the last hearing on November 14, the EFCC had sought for adjournment till November 27 in the fresh case it instituted against Bello, saying that the 30-day window was still running for the summons earlier issued. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, has said the annual loss to Nigeria's gross domestic product from malaria exceeds $1.1 billion. Professor Pate said this at the inaugural meeting of the Advisory on Malaria Elimination in Nigeria in Abuja. A statement issued by the ministry's Deputy Director of Information and Public Relations, Alaba Balogun, says that Pate described malaria as not just a health crisis, but an economic and developmental emergency that must be eliminated. Pate said the unveiling of the advisory body is a bold and decisive step to confront and address the disease. The federal government has directed tertiary institutions in the country to establish sexual assault referral centers to address cases of students offering lecturers sex in exchange for good grades, harassment, and gender-based violence on campuses. Minister of Women Affairs Iman Suleiman Ibrahim affirmed this at the National Summit held in Abuja by Alliances for Africa in collaboration with the Committee on Gender Directors in Nigeria to kick off the 16 Days of Activism campaign against gender-based violence. The directive comes 3 days after the Federal University in Oyo Ekiti had cleared a female student, Ramota Olahanloye, to graduate following the remarking of her final year examination scripts. Elsewhere, Imo State government has approved the implementation of a 70,000 naira minimum wage for workers in the state. This comes as part of efforts to align with the federal government's directive on wage increases and improve workers' welfare. Our correspondent Amarachi Ibe completes the story. Those details in the course of News Prime. The Federal Capital Territory Commissioner of Police, Tunji Disu, has ordered that vehicles without number plates should be impounded across the territory. He also ordered the deployment of more personnel and equipment for patrols and stop and search operations throughout the nation's capital. Disu's directive came on the heels of the rise in one-chance incidents across the Federal Capital Territory. A statement by the command spokesperson, Josephine Ade, says all regulations regarding covered number plates and tinted glasses would be enforced. As part of efforts to combat the Lukurawa sect, the federal government says it will deploy more military personnel and formations in the states where the terrorist operates. The Sokoto state government asserted that it is concerned about the lives and property of its people, noting that security tops its 9-point agenda. Special advisor on security matters to Governor Ahmed Aliyu, Colonel Mohammed Usman, retired, says the federal government has promised to deploy more security operatives in the state to tackle the sect that attacked Mera village, Kebbi State, leaving 17 residents dead on November the 8th. Many people have been hospitalized in various facilities following a free medical outreach in Abiriba, Ohafia local government area of Abia State. The State's Commissioner for Health, Ogbonnaya Uche, confirmed the incident in a statement in Umuahia, the state's capital. He attributed the hospitalizations to suspected adverse drug reactions and assured the public that healthcare personnel were working diligently to stabilize and treat those affected. The statement reveals that the organizers of the outreach had failed to obtain necessary approvals from the ministry. It warned that such unauthorized events would henceforth attract prosecution to prevent future occurrences. You're watching the live broadcast of News Cycle on Global Television, coming to you from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When News Cycle will return shortly, Nigeria's Coops 9 gold medals in Taekwondo. Details of these, as well as business and foreign stories for you. All of that will come after the short break. Please don't go away. Thank you so very much for staying with us, everyone, on the news. Now, let's turn to business quickly. The National Assembly has questioned President Bola Tinubu's request for loan requests as some revenue-generating agencies of the federal government disclosed that they had already surpassed their budgetary revenue target for 2024. Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zak Adedeji, says the federal government generated 1.5 trillion naira in education tax, a substantial amount above its 70 billion naira target. Adedeji made this known during an interactive session with the National Assembly's Joint Committee on Finance, Budget and National Planning on the 2025 to 2027 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy (PIFA). The Nigerian Navy says a total of 8.1 million barrels of stolen crude oil, 86,500 metric tons of illegally refined automotive gas oil, popularly called diesel, have been recovered by operatives of the service in various operations in the last 4 years. Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala reviewed the figures while briefing journalists on the activities of the service in Abuja. Our defense correspondent Kikelemo Okere tells us more.
The Chief of the Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, who was represented by the Chief of Training and Operations, Rear Admiral Olusegun Ferreira, says troops arrested 181 speedboats, 1,453 wooden boats laden with stolen products, 118 vehicles, and destroyed 8,790 storage tanks. It further reveals that a total of 392 suspected oil thieves have been arrested and 122 barges and deactivated 1,528 illegal refining sites also have been destroyed within the period under review.
In this period, the Nigerian Navy also deactivated over 528 illegal refining sites, and 8,790 storage tanks, and arrested 392 suspected oil thieves. The suspects were handed over to relevant law enforcement agencies for further investigation and prosecution.
He says, despite the sterling performances, there have been misinterpretation in certain quarters aimed at tarnishing the image of the Nigerian Navy. The Chief of Training and Operations says the misinterpretation are peddled by mischief makers whose freedom of action in oil theft have been severely degraded by the Nigerian Navy. He reiterated the Nigerian Navy's commitment to several strategic initiatives such as presidential crude oil barging regime.
However, some unpatriotic elements are determined to plunder the country's oil resources for personal gains through oil theft and other acts of economic sabotage. Over the years, the Nigerian Navy employs measures to address the scourge of oil theft. In this regard, the Nigerian Navy conducts anti-oil theft, anti-piracy, anti-smuggling, and anti-illegal fishing operations, amongst other functions. Anti-oil theft operations remain the Navy's most critical function due to the contribution of oil revenue to Nigeria's economic survival.
Ferreira also stressed the Nigerian Navy's commitment to transparency, working with other regulators in the monitoring and enforcement of approval granted to operators to lift crude oil and other refined products. He says this enables the Nigerian Navy to ensure compliance for legitimate upstream and downstream operations on behalf of the regulators. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
Thank you so very much, Kike Lomo, for your reporting there. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has raised the monetary policy rate, which benchmarks interest rates in the country, to 27.50% from 27.25%. Olayemi Kadoso, the central bank's governor, announced the committee's decision at a press conference after the panel's 298th meeting in Abuja. It says the committee increased the monetary policy rate by 25 basis points. Meanwhile, the Association of Bureau d'Echange of Nigeria has revealed that the Central Bank of Nigeria has extended the deadline for BDC operators to recapitalize by 6 months. The association's president, Aminu Gwadabi, revealed this during a virtual general meeting with members. With this extension, the new deadline for the recapitalization will be June 30, 2025. In May, the Apex Bank had issued new operational guidelines for BDCs, which became effective June 3rd, directing all existing BDCs to reapply for a new license according to their preferred categories and meet the minimum capital requirement of the license category applied for within 6 months from the effective date of the guidelines. The federal government says it will continue its nationwide consultations on the digital economy and e-governance bill, with plans to visit more states this week. This follows earlier discussions in 16 states aimed at gathering input from all regions to shape the legal framework for Nigeria's digital economy. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, says the upcoming consultations will take place in Kebbi, Oyo, Anambra, and Sokoto states. The sessions are part of a broader initiative to ensure the proposed bill reflects the diverse needs of Nigeria's digital landscape. The Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company says it has ramped up efforts to combat energy theft across its network. In a statement released by spokesperson Bosulami Chunwashe, the DISCO announced a partnership with the Special Investigation and Prosecution Task Force on electricity offenses to identify, investigate, and prosecute individuals involved in energy theft. Let's turn to the foreign scene for you, where Donald Trump says he will hit China, Mexico, and Canada with new tariffs on day one of his presidency in an effort to force them to crack down on illegal migration and drug smuggling into the United States. The U.S. president-elect says he would sign an executive order imposing a 25% tariff on all goods coming from Mexico and Canada after being inaugurated on 20 January 2025. He also stated that an additional 10% tariff would be levied on China until its government cracks down on fentanyl smuggling to the United States. Defense ministers from Germany, France, Poland, Italy, and the UK are set to meet in Berlin to discuss measures to strengthen security and defense in Europe. Russia's targeting of Ukraine with a new medium-range missile thought to have implications for all of Europe is likely to play a major role during the discussions. Let's turn to other stories quickly for you. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Ananias Mulumba, nicknamed Metal, is dominant in his second-round technical knockout victory over Nigeria's Jackie Anyana, known as the Smiling Assassin, at the African Knockout Championship to earn his spot in the championship finals. The AK-06 Pan-African Mixed Martial Arts event drew elite fighters from across the continent to Lagos for a night of unforgettable athleticism and entertainment. Held at the prestigious Monarch Event Center, the event featured thrilling matchups spanning multiple weight divisions, solidifying its position as a centerpiece of African combat sports. That's quite colorful and remarkable. That's a full cycle of the news here that came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times, channel 276, and free to air on Nightcomsat. We encourage you to follow us across all of our social media platforms using the handle at Global TV NG, as well as others now showing on your screen. I'm Uyi Agumofwebe. I'll see you again.